So, what's going on guys, Kids here, and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will share my biggest and worst mistakes that I and many new players have made and keep making every day in Albion Online. I've personally been playing this game for over 7 years now, and in this time I've learned pretty much anything and everything there is. So if you want a part 2 of this video for even more mistakes, then let me know down in the comments. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. So number 1 mistake is joining the first guild that invites you. Quite often as a new player, you will get to the tutorial area or the first ever starting town in one of the biomes, and almost immediately you might find yourself with a guild invite. A lot of players naturally feel very alone in the world of Albion, so they right away sign up to the first offer. But unfortunately this is a bad idea for a number of reasons. Firstly, if the guild isn't for you and you decide to leave it, you've now put yourself on a cooldown before you can join another guild. This could slow your progress if you find the guild that is right for you, and could be very frustrating if you're wanting to get straight in and get powered leveled by even more powerful guild. Secondary, the situation that I like to call in Albion Online community as the potato farming. So the best case scenario, you've joined this guild that invited you in the noob zone, and they are just a genuine guild that invites absolutely everybody. So your guildmates are going to be comprised of beginner players too, and you really are not going to have a good experience. In my opinion, the harder a guild is to join, the better it probably is. However, in the worst case scenario, which is the scenario 3, you may find yourself in what we like to call as the potato farming guild. And in this particular analogy, the potato is you, the player. These guilds are designed to invite all of these new players. There will be no activity in there apart from the new players talking to each other. The guild leader will be completely AFK, and what they have done is set a high guild tax, so that any silver you or your guildmates collected is taxed heavily by the guild, and the money goes straight into the guild bank. And then the guildmaster logs in every once in a while to farm his potatoes, aka the U, and withdraw all of your hard-earned silver. So don't just take the first guild invite that you receive. Find the guild that suits you, or better just play by yourself until you want to start the group content. However, if you really want to be in the guild, then at least look at this tax number. And definitely don't stay in a guild that has higher than 50% tax. So, number 2 on our mistake list is using all of your LP right away. LP or learning points are very powerful resources, which can help you to level extremely quickly. A premium player gets 20 LP per day, and a free-to-play player has access to 10 per day by completing their adventurer challenges each day. Now during the tutorial, it shows you that LP are super cool and a fast way to skip leveling something you reach the LP threshold in. However, I think that a lot of new players are doing after the tutorial is using the LP whenever the possibility arises, basically, which is what LP is for. But there is a more efficient way to use it. As a general rule of thumb, until you've decided to commit onto one particular build, you should not spend LP on any combat skills. The only thing I would advise spending LP on as a brand new player is advancing from one tier of gathering to the next one. Anytime you get up a level in the gathering tool, you will increase your profitability per hour. So it's super important to use LP on that, because it will mean that you can make more money, thus making it easier to get premium and get double the LP each day. So in a short summary, don't use LP unless on gathering tool, but if you really must, then at least be 100% sure that you are going to be using that build for a very long time. Then the third mistake that I see new players are making right now in Albion is carrying their whole bank around with them. The amount of people I see buying bigger and bigger axes as they level up and transporting everything they own around with them is actually quite surprising. So I strongly recommend to make use of your banks. I personally travel light at all times, especially in PvP zones. And be wary, even in the supposedly safe yellow zones, you can be knocked down by PvPers. Although you won't die, you will actually lose a percentage of your resource stacks in your backpack. So gathering and carrying everything around with you during these runs is a good way to start to lose all of your resources and get very frustrated when you have to repair absolutely everything you own. And this is why Albion has a local banking system. But just remember where you put your stuff. Generally, I would advise to just be in one town, and anytime you go out to do stuff in the open world, travel as light as possible to A. minimize your risk, and B. to make sure you have as much carry capacity as possible, so you could carry loot, resources, and as much treasure back to the town as possible. So then the fourth mistake I've been seeing a lot of people making is when they are trying to level up quickly. And I'm talking about all of the types of leveling from everything when it comes to gathering and even your builds. I've seen this way too many times. Then players level up all of their tools to tier 4, then to 5, and then they get stuck around the tier 6. Again for both gathering, crafting, or even builds. This will happen to players if they don't focus on specific things, rather than just leveling up everything. At the start it might seem fast and smart, but you really don't want to do this, because you are sacrificing your efficiency, which later in the game you will learn is extremely valuable. All of the Albion's big money for gathering or PvP/PvE is at the top, so early on I would advise you to try to get to the top as fast as possible. You really just want to specialize in one thing and grind it as much as you can, because you want to push it as high as possible so you could make as much money as possible as well, to sustain your premium and be able to get a bankroll together for your equipment. Of course, by all means, if you live in a desert and once you've got your skinning tool to max, or perhaps for your PvP build, then you can start to work on ore or fiber or different weapons for your build. But your main goal should always be to getting to tier 8 right away. So then by using that max tier, no matter what you picked, you can then afford anything or everything else you want. It's totally okay to make your money with one gathering resource, and then buy the other stuff you need. The amount of people that I've seen this obsession, that they have to craft all of their own items that they use, is extremely common, and this is one of the biggest efficiency killers. If you are one of those players, you really have to get out of that mentality, because you just won't make enough money to sustain your build when you eventually get killed, or it will require extreme amounts of grinding. So if you're looking for efficient builds and money making, then focus on getting one thing up as quickly as possible, and only after that focus on anything else you want. Then on a similar note, number 5 mistake is not stocking up on some backup gear for your build. So once you've decided on your build, buy at least 5 to 10 of those pieces. The amount of players that I see playing World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls Online, or any traditional MMO type of style, where they have only one gear set, it's just not smart to do in Albion Online. Having only one gear set for your build could be fine as long as you never go into the PvP zones, but eventually in Albion you will be venturing into those zones. And of course it's a risk that you're going to die, so you don't want to have one super expensive set. It's better to have 10 affordable sets that you can afford to lose, rather than having one extremely expensive set. I would personally make it your goal to go out once or twice flagged, or into any black zone, with the intention of dying. Make it a part of your gameplay experience. Don't fear it, but rather embrace it, because you will have to adjust your mentality to the full loot sandbox. So you would go out into the world and explore. So always when I play Albion, this is my mindset. Will I be annoyed if I lose this gear? And can I replace this gear 10 times over with my current bankroll? If the answer to the first question is yes, I'll be annoyed if I lose my gear, or the answer to the second question is no, I can't afford to replace it 10 times, then the odds are that you should not be wearing that gear to a PvP zone, under any circumstance. So only wear that you can afford to lose, and always play within your bankroll. So then moving over to one of the last mistakes, and it is doing both PvE and PvP at the same time, or not enough. All of the content in Albion can be summarized in 2 categories, so PvP or PvE. Of course you can do both of them together, but it will be slower, so my personal recommendation is to first of all decide to go PvP or PvE path, and then when you reach tier 8, then you can do other activities to the tier 8 as well. But basically if you decide to go to the PvE route, then you will want to gather and farm solo, or open world dungeons and spots. So this is how it works. If you're a PvE player, that means that for now you want to stay out of PvP and just make silver, try to progress your tiers and etc. And then in depth there are even 2 more paths for the PvE itself. The first one is to become a gatherer, and I have already made a full gathering guide, so check it out. But basically as a gatherer you want to gather resources and then level up your gathering and make money this way. As the gatherer, the same principle apply, like before. So if you want to go from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 and etc, then you start using tier 1 pickaxe or tier 1 knife, depending on which material you want to gather. And the more you will use it, the more it will gain fame aka experience. And then you will be able to unlock better tools that will give you the ability to gather better resources. But again, for a full in-depth guide, check my gathering video. But then we have the second path, which is still PvE, but doing that we did before. So just go around the open world and different dungeons and kill all the monsters. In return you will get fame, which will level up your gear, and you will get silver as well. But not as much by doing the gathering. So here you have to decide, do you want to gather resources and make bunch of silver, or even start crafting, or do you prefer just grinding mobs for XP and silver? And then again, the same goes for PvP. You can start with getting one single set piece and go into corrupted dungeons or any other type of PvP yellow zone content. But as you won't lose anything when you die, so you won't get anything from killing other players as well, or even from the chests. So no matter what you decide to do, to only do at the start PvP or PvE, just focus on one thing until you can go into the same activity just in a full load zone with 10 gathering sets or 10 PvP sets, and only then start experimenting and risking your set for even more loot. And then the final mistake that I see many new players making, and it is a quite big one, which is fearing the black zone too much. Because for most, the black zone seems like the ultimate PvP environment. It seems super scary and super intimidating until you go out there. But as weird as it sounds right now, due to the massive overpopulation of the royal zones and the appeal for the gankers and PKers, the black zone is actually safer than the red zone in a lot of places. You will probably need to navigate past gankers and campers when you go first out to the portals, but if you can go deep enough, like to the guild hideouts, especially not during their prime time, then you will find a much more uncontested gathering and fame farming experience. And once you get used to evading the occasional ganker, I promise you that the black zones will be the place to be. So with that said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback or other good Albion online guides that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and not miss any more amazing content. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in my next video, so take it easy, peace.